The interview with BJNN is brought to you by Biz Events, connecting the Central New York business community through events.
I'm Marnie Nasher, president of the Business Journal News Network, and I'd like to welcome Tom Fernandez. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the Woodbine Group. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Marnie.
Thanks for joining me. Wanted to get to know you a little bit more, and you, your family, and obviously the Woodbine Group. So if you would share with us a little bit about where you grew up and where you received your undergraduate degree.
Sure. So I was born in Syracuse. I was in Syracuse until roughly middle school age and moved to Chicago from there. So I went and did middle school and high school in the Chicago area, and then moved to Durango, Colorado, where I did my undergraduate degree at Fort Lewis College.
And what did you study?
I studied communications.
Okay.
Yep. And from there I actually moved to California for a bit and studied digital communications at Brooks Institute of Photography for a bit, and throughout that time made short trips back to upstate New York to work with the family business of the Woodbine Group, and then would go for a little while and then jump back out west. And my wife's from the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. We were actually there for a little while as well, so kind of bounced around a little bit until recently coming back. Well, it's been 7 years that we've been back in Syracuse now full time.
And so what made you to come right back into Syracuse and make it your final destination?
The family company.
Okay.
Yeah, we really liked working with our family, working with the Woodbine Group, and Norm's always expanding, so it was it's always been exciting and fun to be part of it. So, and then also having children kind of settles you down a little bit and puts you into one spot. So
yes,
that was part of it.
Yeah, it does. And growing up, who was your mentor?
Well, I was going to be a photographer. I wanted to be a journalist. So, people like Galen Rowell, McCurry, all of those guys, they were, kind of who I thought I would be. I actually went to journalism school at Brooks for a while. I worked for a few newspapers out west. I did some cool things for like Team Toyota for the Baja 500, and then I met my wife and decided that I can't just travel the world constantly and do those things. So I started to look at different things, and my wife's always been a graphic designer, so we kind of came back to Syracuse together, and she's really the one behind a lot of the branding of the Woodbine Group, projects that we have. So she did a refresh on the Genesee Grant, and then we moved into Schuyler, Tailwater, Parkview, all of those things. So,
and is that how you got back into the hospitality industry?
It is.
Because you don't have hospitality experience.
No. So I started out as a front desk person, and my wife actually worked at the restaurant at the 1060. So yeah, we did it from the bottom up. Yeah.
I understand. That's exactly how I worked in the family business here. I started in all different departments. It's the best way to learn.
Yeah, my wife actually sold weddings even for a little while at the Genesee Grant.
That's a great experience.
Yeah, so it was, we've done a little bit of everything. So, and with that too, with our expansion, I actually went and got my master's degree in sustainable development during the construction of Schuyler, which is a LEED Platinum building, and we really started to see the growth of sustainable growth in upstate New York and Syracuse specifically. We have a lot of it here. So that kind of became a different passion of mine, kind of brought something different to the table.
So why don't you backtrack a little bit, tell people, if they are unfamiliar, what the Woodbine Group is.
So the Woodbine Group is a Syracuse owned and operated company. Norm Swanson is our president and pretty much the brains behind the majority of what we do. We're a small team, but we do a lot of projects within the Syracuse area, and we're definitely a family company. Everybody from my mom, Norm, brother, stepsister.
I was going to ask how many family members.
Yeah, there's a lot of us in there. So
too many to count.
Yeah. So, and it really is part of our family. It's what we do, and I think all of our employees are truly part of our family too. Especially being in the hospitality industry, you usually have a lot of turnover. Where we have hotel employees that I think have been with us for almost 30 years. So it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that's a testament.
That we really are dedicated to what we do here in Syracuse, and the hospitality part is just kind of the very obvious part of the Woodbine Group, but we do student housing, we do specialty warehousing, we do other developments. So, but we're really kind of known for what we've done in the hospitality realm.
Well, I know that you've transformed a number of existing properties into hotels. I think the question is, why do you go that route versus just building new ones?
So that's Norm mostly, just because he he sees Syracuse as his home, and he's really, other than kind of some of our new projects, he's really only developed one part of Syracuse, and that's been through the lower part of the university area, and specifically Genesee Street. So a lot of those properties are properties that he really has, I don't know, emotion for. And
okay, and that was, let's go through them.
Sure.
The Genesee Grant.
Yep, the Genesee Grant was, so it started off as the Genesee Inn with the Mayflower apartment complex. The Parkview Hotel, which was the former Medical Arts building. We jump up to Hotel Schuyler up on Harrison Street.
Formerly a temple.
Yep, Temple at the Echelon. Very cool building. And Copper Beach Commons, which was the former National Guard Armory building as well. So right in that 3-block vicinity, there was a lot of adaptive reuse by the Woodbine Group and by Norm right there. And you look at these cities that there was big booms of expansion and growth, and then a large retraction. So you have incredible buildings that are no longer being utilized, and I think we're seeing that through a lot of the Northeast area, where there's beautiful buildings that have the possibilities to be many things, and that's where we see a lot of growth. And then if we jump out of Syracuse, we look at Tailwater Lodge, which was the former Altmar Elementary School. And that one was a lot of fun, just to see what could be done with...
Well, so why did you move in that direction?
You want the real story?
Sure.
I went fishing one day.
Okay.
I'm a big fly fisherman. I love to salmon and steelhead fish on the Salmon River. And I was up there fishing, and I saw the for sale sign on the building. And I came back to Norm kind of on a whim and said, hey,
this is up your alley.
I think we should buy this and turn it into a hotel. He's like, all right, let me call. And he called the broker, and the broker said, oh, sorry, the school's been sold. We're like, oh, all right. So we kind of just let it slide. We got a call back a few days later, and they said, no, that was the other school that sold, because it was APW, and they were shrinking all the elementary schools into one.
Right.
So they sold the other elementary school, and the Altmar Elementary School is still available. So we went up, looked at it, and we just said, this is going to be an amazing project.
You have to have such a vision for something like that.
And other than fishing licenses, we had no true data of who traveled to that area of New York State. So Norm would go up on Saturdays and go into the parking lot and count license plates of out-of-state vehicles and see if there was a critical mass for us to open a hotel up there. When we went to first open, I thought we'd have like a few rooms and maybe a place to get a cheeseburger, but I think we've turned it into something pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
up there.
it's amazing. It's an amazing facility and what you've done with it.
Thank you.
Is this, when I was talking with Chris, are you into your phase 3?
So we just finished phase 3.
Okay.
So we have a couple other projects kind of up our sleeves that we're going to be doing up there. Nothing as major as this last expansion, but yeah, Tailwater went from phase 1, which was the original rooms and restaurant, to phase 2, which was the banquet space and the tasting room and some outdoor venues. And then phase 3 was the largest expansion yet, with 46 additional guest rooms, indoor pool, outdoor hot tub, spa, game room, fitness center. So we really went all the way in on this. And during that time, we actually branded the property. We've always been an Orvis endorsed lodge, but we went with Hilton Tapestry, which is a Hilton soft brand. So we had a lot of changes at Tailwater over the past year or so.
Has Lake Ontario flooding affected you in any way?
It's hard for us to say. So for the river itself, no. So we're far enough upriver where the actual flooding really wouldn't be an issue. For overall tourism dollars, I would say that there probably is an impact, but we really haven't seen it there specifically to Tailwater. A lot of our summer business is not around fishing. It's around either corporate events or weddings or social events. So I think the effect of that really didn't reach some of our intended guests, but just being in that area, you can tell that there's been a bit of devastation throughout the Lake Ontario shoreline area. And I think if it was something that we were a little bit more dedicated to a summer fishery, that we would have saw a bit of trouble with that.
And what do you see on the horizon for the Woodbine Group in the next, if you could envision the future 5 to 10 years out?
I think a lot of the same, but I think we'll continue to see growth in the hospitality market. I think we're going to continue to expand at Tailwater. Our properties in Syracuse are doing very well with Parkview and the Schuyler. So definitely, making sure that those stay where we'd like them to stay. And then, I don't know, we've got a few other ideas that can't necessarily talk about right now, but Norm, I think, wakes up every morning with 5 ideas that he puts on his desk and see which one's going to stick.
But when you talk about expansion, would you be staying within Syracuse, or continuing what you're doing in Parrish?
I think we really like working in the Altmar, Parrish, Pulaski area.
There's a lot of space up there.
There's a lot of space up there, and there's a lot of opportunity up there. So I think.
Besides fly fishing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
There's been a lot of growth. The Watertown market has seen huge growth. The Utica market has seen a ton of growth. And where Pulaski falls is kind of really in the crosshairs of Syracuse, Utica, Watertown, and it's even not that far from Rochester. So it's kind of a landing zone. So, we do have some big companies up there like the Fultons and the Felix Schulers. And we also see a lot of groups that are coming out of the Utica market to do a lot of corporate retreats and things of that nature with us. So it was funny moving just 40 minutes north of Syracuse. It opened up our market in really 3 different directions. So I think we see some opportunity there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's not something I would have actually have thought of. I mean, I've been there and it's beautiful, but I can imagine in the winter it must be challenging to drive, or people.
It is, but the nice thing is, fall winter is when we. Fall winter is when we are really looking for our leisure market. So our leisure market is snowmobilers, fly fishermen, people up there just for a weekend getaway. There's parts of it that we definitely don't want to sell to a corporate group where we're trying to get 180 people up there in February. We actually tried to push all of that to the summer months just because weather can be an issue, but the snowmobiling piece of it, the fly fishing piece of it, and we fish all winter long. So that's really when our fishing is at prime. That's when steelhead are in the river. That's when we're kind of doing our fishing thing.
Now, talk to me about the hospitality industry. How has that changed?
So we've had some big jumps at the Woodbine Group. We went from being all independent hotels to being all branded hotels, but soft brands, which is something kind of new to the market. Hotel Skylar and Tailwater Lodge are now all Hilton Tapestry brands. Hotel Skylar actually being the first Hilton Tapestry for the entire group, which was an amazing experience to see Hilton launch a brand with one of our properties. So
when was that branded?
That happened in June of last year.
Okay.
Yep, and then we finished up Tailwater in December of last year. So, which is not an easy feat. They call it a fast track. It was insane. Nothing's fast. It was too fast, but not fast enough, if that makes sense. We turned the Parkview Hotel into a Best Western Premier property. So we've decided to really utilize kind of a global branding piece and a global marketing piece to our hotels, and it's really doing its thing. We're seeing growth from those people that are really after the points and after that type of stay at our properties. And Hotel Skylar has seen an amazing jump in occupancy and rate. Parkview has really settled in with their new brand, and we're seeing a big jump in occupancy there. And Tailwater has been through a major expansion, so we're definitely seeing a big piece there, and we're seeing new clients there. So it's been exciting to watch those 3 properties grow.
And what do you think? Do you see on the horizon for our Central New York community?
I think we're in very good shape. My biggest fear is 81, though. So depending on when we have a plan and what we know is going to happen, I want to make sure that our community can work together, that we can get to the university, that we can get to downtown, that we can get to the outerlying communities, that it doesn't look like it's just a barrier to those citywide conventions or those big groups that travel to Syracuse, that we have a sales team, both at our hotel and through the CVB and through the city, that can say, oh yeah, we've got a little bit of construction going on, but it's still kind of business as usual. I think as long as we can keep that in place, we'll be fine, but that could be a roadblock for moving forward. I do think that we're seeing great growth at the university. We're seeing great growth at the hospitals, the new VA that's going up. So, where we do our core business at the University Hill area, we're seeing expansion, and that's always a good thing. And it's showing itself in rate and occupancy with travelers to the area.
And you can see it downtown in Armory Square and
right. I've been back and forth for a while now. In this last 7 years, I've never seen so much expansion, and it's a wonderful thing to see. It's a wonderful place to raise a family. It's exciting to be part of this growth that we're seing in the Syracuse area and throughout the upstate area.
I couldn't agree more. And actually, that's all we have time for. Thank you to Tom for joining us today. Appreciate
Thank you.
It.
My pleasure.
And to stay up to date with more videos, please check out our website at CNYBJ.com.